All right. I think we're good, John. If you are, we'll get going.
Sounds good.
Okay. Welcome to Inside the Cave. Today's broadcast sponsor is Hy-Vee, where there's a helpful smile in every. Hy-Vee proudly supports the Missouri State Bears. And today's guest is men's soccer head coach Jon Leamy. John, I like your friend there that you have with you in the backyard. How you doing?
Doing great, Art, and thanks for having our soccer program on. And Art, you've known me a long time, and you know I'm probably about the dumbest guy you've met in the athletic department, but we had some help, and somebody was so kind to put that bear background in, and it looks like a happy bear. He's got a little bit of a belly, probably, I don't know, 120 pounds overweight, but he's happy, he's content, so we think it's a perfect fit.
Well, he's still thinking about last men's soccer season when the Bears went 18-1-1 and hosted an NCAA game and made it to the second round.
Yeah, just a fantastic season, Art. The guys, the coaching staff, the players, everybody came together. It's just a wonderful season that we hated to see end. Unfortunately, you know, that last one we played down in Central Florida didn't go our way, but the season just kept building and building. And it seemed like game to game, week to week, just more excitement.
Well, I say a lot of the time, John, in all the sports, seasons like that, that's always the goal. And I mean, you were the last undefeated team in the country and got to host an NCAA game at Betty and Bobby Allison South. I know that was
that was just an unbelievable art to get a game at home is easy. And sometimes when some of the NCAA selections and where they're going to put teams and whatnot, you know, in all sports, it's hard for some schools sometimes to kind of come out with those home games. But I think the guys had a great resume and deserved it. And it would have been good to almost get the bye, Art. I mean, we felt like we put a lot on the table to maybe even get a bye, so we could have maybe prepared a little bit more and been home on a Sunday. But hey, we had the Thursday game with Denver. It ended up being just an unbelievable night with the weather, because in November, all of a sudden, we got a thunderstorm rolling in. We had rain. We had lightning delay. And, you know, we had a fantastic crowd, but the crowd had to all leave the stadium. They all cleared out. By the time we got back out there to warm up, I mean, it was just basically the two teams. And I don't blame anyone, but all of a sudden, people just kept coming in. I don't know where they all were. I heard some took shelter in Hammond Student Center or in their cars, but a fantastic crowd. The support was unbelievable. And then to pull that game off against a real good Denver team, it was a magical night.
Your team allowed 13 goals all season in 20 matches. And I know that's always one of your goals, is to hold the other team to no goals, which is easier to score. And that was a great example of that philosophy being carried out last year.
Yeah, and we you know, it was a good defensive team last year. We had some very good defensive teams over the years. And again, I'm going to credit Coach Mike Siebold, Phil Woods, Coach Will Lukowski, who specifically works with our goalies. Those guys do an unbelievable job of preparing the team. But we take pride. I think that's something historical within our program is let's not let other teams on the scoreboard. You're in every game, as you said. Defense wins championships. You've got to have your offense when you need it. But if we can kind of go into a game knowing, hey, we can get a goal or two, it's going to be our game.
Your teams have won 4 of the last 7 Missouri Valley Conference championships, and in anything, consistency is, I think, what you're after, and that's some great consistency. I know you must take pride in that, you and your coaches and players.
They do, and you know we try to keep it simple, like line up, play the game, and then get on to the next one. So it's a one at a time mentality. And it's really one practice at a time, Art. As you know, one film session at a time. You just take the next thing in front of you. You try to be the best you can. And we have a very focused group of young men. And like I said, we got the best coaching staff there is. And I don't mean me, Art. I mean Mike and Phil and Will, with what they do to really prepare and get the team ready to go. And, you know, we think we're going to have a good defense coming up again this year. We lost some very good players, but the cupboard isn't bare either. And one of the first things we're going to do when we get back to practice is emphasize our 1v1 defending, our smaller group defending, and move it right into a full team.
Today's broadcast sponsor is Hy-Vee. We'd also like to thank Hotel Vandervoort, Springfield's first urban boutique hotel. Visiting with Jon Leamy, men's soccer coach. So, John, you did have 4 seniors on that great team last year. One of them, Matthew Bentley, a guy that had played 3 years of Division II ball in West Virginia. And then he comes here and has a fantastic senior season and leads you in goals. How did he get to be such a well-kept secret, and how did he make his way from West Virginia for his senior year at Missouri State?
Well, he was a player that actually transferred in at the winter break a year ago. So we had him in the spring, and Mike Siebel really had so much and spearhead so much of the recruiting and whatnot. So Matt was looking, I think, in the big picture, Matt was looking for another challenge and another level. So he felt that, that he had talents that could really do well up at the Division I level. He came in the springtime. Very good student, by the way, Art, fantastic in the classroom. So we had him all spring for training in our spring play. And then he played summer ball. He was actually up in Portland, Maine. He was playing some summer ball like the kids also do with baseball and things like that. And then came in and just hit the ground running, because Matt was basically, for 15 goals, sometimes you'll get some games where somebody scores 2, 3, 4. Matt was a goal-a-game guy. He did not load up and get 3 or 4 in a game. He consistently would score throughout the season. And it's an absolute fantastic season, did well, and, ended up being an MLS draft and with Minnesota. So we're so proud of Matt. And he's graduating, by the way, here in a couple of weeks.
That's great. Once again, today's broadcast brought to you by Hy-Vee, where there's a helpful smile in every aisle. We'd also like to thank Bambino's Cafe. Great food, great service. Your neighborhood, order Bambino's to go at bambinoscafe.com. John, I know your team has always been great about community engagement, and that includes campus engagement, being involved in things on campus, in the community, cheering on the other teams, and that's reciprocated. I know you really are integrated into the community, and I know that's intentional.
Yeah, and again, I think it goes back to the folks we're blessed to have in the program. We got some players that like going, and so they know what it's like. Our student athletes, they appreciate when people come and watch them play, and they want to play, and they want to play for their peers. And we always say we play for our students because we're fortunate we have a program at a university. And we got to understand why we have universities. We have universities for students, period. For kids to come and get educated. And then when we can represent them, it's fantastic when they come out, whether it's, the kids from the dorms, fraternities, sororities, it means a lot. And our guys always play harder and better when there's a crowd there. Give it back to the other programs when we can. And, we have so many wonderful activities at Missouri State, so many good sports teams. So it's a pleasure.
You bet. And I know part of the fun of your matches, you've been very creative in what you do at halftime.
Yeah, for the past several years, we've had some different, and I'm going to credit our marketing department and whatnot, and Danielle has worked with us the last few years, and we used to have the dating game where we'd have some, maybe a bachelorette and a few bachelors that they would pick from. So we did that for some years. And then last couple of years, they've done like a family feud type game. They call it the soccer feud. And we've had different groups kind of go at it. So, we find that more and more of the folks are staying in the seats at halftime. So it's working good. We're really appreciative. Bear Village, I believe, has been just a wonderful sponsor for the last few years. I believe Bear Village has been on board. So we appreciate their support. And all of the sponsors, like Art, you just mentioned, the Hotel Vandervoort and Hy-Vee and what they're doing for us. The sponsors mean everything to our athletic program, and we can't thank them enough.
I was there one night at halftime when President Smart was emceeing the halftime contest, and one of the student athletes kind of trying to poke fun at him, made a flippant comment, and Cliff ejected him from the competition. So that talk answered in a pretty strong way.
I like that. Hey, you're president, you don't like this or that, you throw them out. And I know nobody has a better sense of humor than President Smart, and engages with our students, and he is well loved by the students and everybody at Missouri State. But boy, when he can come to an event or host something like that, the kids get sick out of it.
Jon, talk a little bit, if you would, about how the Betty and Bobby Allison South Stadium construction, and we're now, 4 or 5 years in having that. How has that affected your program?
It's been just absolutely wonderful. When we had some of the facility changes, the track was over at Plaster Stadium, as you know, and then Plaster became a little bit more football intimate stadium. In other words, we can get some seating closer to the stadium, particularly over on the student side. The track then moves over to where the stadium is located now. So we have soccer and track right by Glass Hall and right up to JQH Arena. And it's centrally located on campus. It's easily accessible to see when something's happening. Kids could be in dorms or coming out after dinner and go, hey, there's a game going on. So we have found that just kids going by the stadium vacation has been fantastic. And then really from a structural standpoint, Art, it's a bigger field. When we were playing in Plaster, it was a little bit smaller and limited with size. Still NCAA legal, but just a little bit smaller. And some teams, sometimes visiting teams, we're not going to, we don't want to play on a field that's only 70 or this or that. And you come up with excuses, or there were too many lines on it. You have soccer lines, you have football lines, you have all these lines. So you would get some different feedback, and you're like, and us, Art, we'll play anywhere, anytime. But now we've got a 120 by 75 soccer specific field, stadium, and we can do fantastic meeting. The television from there has been wonderful. We have fantastic lightings, surface, great halftime rooms for the teams to go into. So it's really all there. And Mr. Allison also put an addition in where we got some more permanent type seats. So we have some very comfortable seating now. We also have some traditional bench seating if you want to sprawl out a little bit more. So fantastic facility. We are blessed, and I think that's been a big part of some of our results and what's going on. We have a home field advantage, and we are very proud of it.
Special thank you to today's broadcast sponsor, Hy-Vee, and a special thank you as well to DoubleTree by Hilton Springfield, located at Glenstone and Kearney, where a warm cookie always awaits your arrival. What has been your level of communication with your players during this current situation in the spring? What would you normally have been doing in the way of training with them, and what have you been able to do with them remotely?
Yeah, real good question, Art, because we are allowed to have a spring season, and you're allowed 5 playing dates. You can actually play 2 games in a day, but 5 dates that you can do outside competition. And then you're also allowed to do an alumni game. So we had all those dates booked, and we also were going to do our annual soccer weekend, alumni weekend, and things like that. But we got 1 weekend of play-in. We went down to Rogers State in Arkansas, and we played Rogers State and Oral Roberts. So we split the team, kind of did 2 matches, and good opening series for us. We saw some good things, and the team was looking. We won 2, and then we came back and we went into the spring break. So it's kind of always happening at Missouri State and around the country during the spring break time. So kids went off on spring break, and then spring break, as we were gone, got extended a week. And then, of course, decisions were made that the remainder of school was going to be online. And then more decisions were made with the NCAA about teams and training. And basically, Art, we got shut down. So there was no more training. No more weights, no more conditioning. All the education was going to be via online or telephones, or however it was going to work with the teachers and their classes. And by the way, our faculty has done an unbelievable job of reaching out and communicating with the students. I mean, just blessed to see and get to know so many of the the folks over the years, but Art, they are just, I mean, we've got faculty that are available 12, 14 hours a day for their students. You've got all kinds of different situations for the kids around the country, and some hardships and work situations for their folks. But, the faculty are being so accommodating, and it's just unbelievable how many compliments and phone calls that you will see regarding some of the more unsung heroes. We talk about our truck drivers, our healthcare workers, our first responders, our grocery store workers. But boy, in the academics, the teachers, in all levels, elementary, high school, but particularly even with our college that we're around a little bit more, unbelievable job they're doing to adjust. And some of these folks taking courses that there was no way they were ever thought about being online, getting them up, giving them quality education, and Missouri State does a great job. Now, back to your question, Art. We lost the rest of the spring season. We had more dates coming. The alumni game and whatnot got postponed. So most of our kids went back home. So they went back to their home cities or countries. I mean, we got some kids that went back to England or Norway, New Zealand, we got Italy, Spain. So we got some kids scattered. And for the most part, a lot of the kids were it was sometimes a 14-day quarantine. Some was like, hey, you're staying in your home, you're staying in your room, and some were a little bit lesser where you had a little bit more freedom, but it looks like it's opening up well. And, we're quite not sure when we're coming back, but the kids are working hard individually. They're keeping their fitness up, and that's the biggest thing they need. They just need to take care of their bodies, their minds, help folks out in their community, help their neighbors, help their families, and give back. And if they keep their bodies up, we're not going to miss a beat. When we get back with our soccer training and whatnot, it'll come back together for these guys pretty easily.
Today's broadcast sponsor is Hy-Vee and also the Missouri State Bookstore. Shop online at MissouriStateBookstore.com for all your bearwear needs. So, John, Cliff Smart, of course, has said just in the last week that the intention is to have regular seated classes in person in the fall and have the campus open with some restrictions. Now, the other extreme of that, there are some universities that have announced they're bringing their athletes back for training June 1st. So that's a pretty broad stretch there between June 1st and maybe August 1st or August 15th. As you said, we really don't know what it's going to look like at Missouri State. So are you planning for a normal season? I would sure that's plan A, but is there a plan B and a plan C based on circumstances and what might happen over the summer?
Yeah, and you hit it on the head, Art. The one thing we know is, okay, we need to get ready and we got to be, in a position to come back and play. So if we go by the regular NCAA standards, by the end of the first week of August, the team will come in and we can officially start. A lot of times we have some kids doing a lot of training on their own, and we've always had quite a few here in the summer. So I think we'll see some players come back, and we'll start seeing more and more of them congregate back on as they typically would. And quite a few of them, they're going to be doing their summer school class and some things like that, because we're still going to have online education through the summer. So we think a lot of it can be, kind of back to the way things were. But if it gets moved back, hey, then we adjust. And whatever it takes, tell us, when we can go. In our jobs are easy. We just got to be ready to go. So whatever it is, August, or if it's towards the end of August, we will adapt. And the beauty, Art, is 18 to 22-year-olds, man, they can adapt faster than anybody. They'll improvise. We adapt to the situation and they roll with it. It takes a heck of a lot to really affect a young guy like that in terms of, they figure things out pretty quickly. And again, if they can take care of their fitness and they can come in good shape, healed all our injuries and things like that, I think we're going to be fresh and ready to roll.
Today's fan question is courtesy of Greek Corner Screen Printing and Embroidery, Missouri State Athletics official screen printing partner. The fan question, John, what aspect of being head men's soccer coach at Missouri State has been the most fulfilling for you over the years? And it's been 28 years, so you've been here a good long while.
Yeah, too long, Art, as most would say. But it's just being around a college environment. It's a special environment. I think it's so much different than perhaps some other settings that you can coach in. But you're on the whole, and of course we got non-traditional students, and boy, do they bring a ton to a campus too. But on the whole, you've got a lot of young people, a lot of energy. You've got a passionate faculty that loves to teach and engage. And that's what Missouri State does better than any school I've seen. Our faculty are connected in, and they don't want to hole up and write books and research. We've got unbelievable opportunities where they do that, but they want to be in a classroom and they always want to be connected with students. And that's what separates us. We have fantastic cutting edge research. We have unbelievable publications, but we have a faculty that is going to stay in touch with the students, and it just rubs off. And where we're located, we're in the Forsyth Athletic Center. My gosh, we're right across from the Freudenberger Residence Hall, right across from a dorm. On the other side of us is the library, Meyer Library. So, I mean, there's just not many places I've ever witnessed in the country where you combine athletics and academics in living environments the way Missouri State does. It is truly a special university.
Jon, you are a fantastic representative of the campus community, and obviously your results speak for themselves. We appreciate your time today.
Oh, Art, hey, thank you. And hey, we're going to do one other quick thing. We have a young man that adopted our team.
Yeah.
Nick was with, we got to meet Nick through Team Impact, and boy, what a blessing he was for us this year. And he's on his way today. He's actually leaving in probably an hour or so on to St. Louis again for some more treatments and some stuff. So it's always a tough go, but Nick is just always in our hearts, and there's just been nobody just tougher and more passionate about our program on our team than Nick Hune. And we love Nick and his family, and he's so important to our team. So thoughts and prayers are with Nick and his family.
Absolutely so. Jon, many thanks. Be well.
Thank you, Art. You too. Thanks for everything you do.
This has been Inside the Cave, presented by Hy-Vee, where there's a helpful smile in every aisle. Hy-Vee proudly supports the Bears. Be sure to tune in next time as Tom visits with women's soccer head coach Rob Brewer. Till next time, Art Haynes, and thanks for joining us on Inside the Cave. Go Bears.